Be heard tonight. We have a request to continue on Morose Avenue, and we have a request to continue on 101 Main Street. So if those are your concerns, they will not be heard tonight. It is 7 o'clock, and I can read the letter for the request to withdraw. This is sent from Jennifer Patel. Colleen, I would like to withdraw my application and resubmit at a later date. I have a family matter I'm attending to. Sincerely, Jennifer Patel. I accept a motion to continue. I'm sorry, a motion to withdraw and a second.
I can't vote on that.
I can. Motion to accept the withdrawal of the 27 Sunset application.
I guess I'm the only option to,
Yeah, I think
I
you-
think you're an option for this.
I will second the motion.
all in favor?
All right.
Can we?
So you,
I
I don't know the answer there. We have Nancy.
It's a
was-
simple majority.
Okay, thank you. Our next hearing is a continuance, Pineview Condominiums LLC, Melissa Robbins. She's seeking a modification to a previously approved comprehensive permit to change the tenure of the development from rental to home ownership. No other detail than the project change and any other relief that may be deemed necessary. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, for the record, my name is Melissa Robbins. I'm from the law firm of DeShane and Farrell. Also with me tonight is Jay Berglund, who is the developer of the project. After the meeting a month or so ago, when we went out into the hallway, the abutters hadn't realized that we had actually had the public hearing. So I would like, if the board would allow, what I'd like to do is just give a 2-minute overview of what I had presented at the last meeting, just to give the abutters a chance to understand what we are proposing.
Certainly.
So, as Mr. Chair has stated, this request is for a modification of only the change in tenure of the type of development. So no other aspect of the development will be changing in any way. The project will stay the same, the units will stay the same, the access will stay the same. The proposed gate on Pineview will also remain, and any of the conditions of the permit will still pertain to the project. The only difference is that there'll be a homeowners association maintaining the conditions instead of a management association. So I just wanted to stress that there's no other changes being requested. So everything else that was crafted during the comprehensive permit process stays intact. At the end of the last meeting, the board had raised some concerns, one of which pertained to whether or not this project would trip some sort of issue with inclusionary zoning now that we are proposing a change, and also if there should be a payment in lieu of under the inclusionary zoning with the change. I think that you have a letter in your packet from Mr. Haverty that addresses that issue. It was also requested that we get comments from David Hedison from the Chelmsford Housing Authority, and also reach out to Evan regarding the Housing Advisory Board and the position of the Housing Advisory Board. And I think those are both in your packets today. And if you'd like, before I address them, if you want to read them into record, I would take a break.
I'm going to read them into record.
Okay.
I think I will read them into record, and then if there are any comments or concerns, we'll take them from the audience. The first letter is from David Hedison, the Executive Director of the Chelmsford Housing Authority, October 24th, 2018. Dear Zoning Board, the Chelmsford Housing Authority has reviewed the plans for Pineview condominiums. As there have been a number of affordable rentals developed in Chelmsford and many more underway, we are pleased that this development will be converted to a for-sale project. 13 affordable homeownership units will be an asset to the community. We have not had any 1 or 3 bedroom ownership units come up in a very long time, and there continues to be a demand for 2-bedroom units. As always, the Chelmsford Housing Authority is willing to serve in any capacity deemed necessary to make sure the units are marked and monitored as required by the permit. We are very supportive of this conversion to home ownership. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me at david@chelmsfordha.com. Sincerely yours, David J. Hedison. I have another letter from the Housing Advisory Board dated September 25th, 2018. Dear members of the Board of Appeals, due to market conditions, a previously approved affordable housing project at 7 Gorham Street is now proceeding with a new plan. In particular, they're changing their plan from rental to ownership with the same number of units. The Housing Advisory Board, HAB, supported the original plan. We support the new plan as well. The development team presented their revised development plan to the HAB on August 28, 2018. As you know, the HAB charter calls on us to assess proposed housing developments for conformity with the goals and strategies of the town's housing production plan. The proposed development is located at one of the HPP's priority sites. Although the proposed development is considerably larger than the projected in the HPP, it also on a larger site than identified in the HPP. While the HPP and by extension the HAB have a preference toward rental units, it is a preference that does not exclude desire for affordable ownership units. Some mix is good. The developer believes there is a market for these units. The HAB agrees and furthermore believes the price point being suggested that buyers will be able to qualify for much-needed affordable housing. While the new plan will cause the town to lose some of the units already added to the subsidized housing inventory, that is better than losing all of them. Respectfully submitted by the Housing Advisory Board, John Edwards, George Dixon, and Tim Shanahan. I have a long letter. Paul Harity of Blattman, Borowski, and Haverty LLC was also the town attorney. Dear Chairman Reedy, the reason is 7 Gorham Street and 1 Pineview Avenue, request for modification of a comprehensive permit. This correspondence is intended to address the request for a modification of a comprehensive permit issued to Pineview Condominium LLC, the applicant, for the property located at 7 Gorham Street and 1 Pineview Avenue, Chelmsford. The property. The applicant has requested permission to modify the comprehensive permit issued on February 1st, 2018, pursuant to 760 CMR 56.0511 to change the development from a rental development to a condominium development. The standard for the board's decision on request for modification is whether the development as originally approved is uneconomic, which for the rental project is set at a return on total cost of 4.5 basis points above the 10-year Treasury yield, which is currently just over 3%. This would set the uneconomic threshold at over 7.5%, making it very likely the project as approved is uneconomic under this threshold. The board can request that the applicant submit financial information regarding the ROTC to confirm this, but since few, if any, rental projects are realizing an ROTC in this high currently, it is fair to presume that the applicant would proceed with the rental development if it was projected to achieve the ROTC in excess of the uneconomic threshold. Presuming that the project as originally approved is uneconomic, the applicant would also be required to show that the ROTC for the original project is significantly more uneconomic than the development it proposes to build. A comparison of the economic viability of a rental project to home ownership project is complicated. They are set to different thresholds for determining whether they are uneconomic. The board may choose to presume that the proposed modification is significantly less uneconomic than the project as originally approved, although it may be helpful for the applicant to provide some context regarding this issue. The final issue for the board's consideration is whether there are any local concerns that would outweigh the regional need for affordable housing and changing the development from rental housing to home ownership. Since there are no physical changes proposed to the site, design, or layout, it does not appear that there are any issues of local concern that would support a denial of the requested modification if the rental development is uneconomic. The major issue of concern for the town is that it gets to count all the units in the rental development for a total of 52 units on its subsidized housing inventory, but it only gets to count the actual affordable units for a total of 13 for the home ownership development. This will result in a loss of 39 units from the town's housing inventory. However, the regulations, if a building permit has not been issued within 1 year of the approval of the comprehensive permit, and all of the units are removed from the housing inventory until a building permit is issued. Thus, the town will lose 52 units from its inventory in February 2019, unless a building permit is issued. This is not an issue that would likely support the denial of requested modification. I have been informed that the question has been raised regarding whether the board could require the applicant to contribute funds as payment in lieu consistent with the terms of Section 195, 137 of the Chelmsford zoning bylaws. Because this is a comprehensive permit development pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40B, the provisions of the Section 195-137 are not applicable. Moreover, the applicant's proposed modification complies with the provisions of Section 195-137, as 25% of the units will be affordable. Therefore, the payment in lieu provisions of Section 195-137 would not be applicable, as they apply only when the required 25% affordable units are not being provided as part of the project. Accordingly, the board may not require the applicant to contribute a payment in lieu. As with any comprehensive permit application, the board's choices are limited to issuing a decision approving the application, approving with conditions, or denying the application. As noted above, if the project as originally proposed is uneconomic, any decision by the board to deny the modification or to impose conditions upon the modification must be supported by valid issues of local concern, as that is defined in 760 CMR, relating to health, safety, protection of the natural environment, site and building design, municipal planning, and/or preserving open space. Since most of these issues were addressed as part of the original approval, the board is very constrained in what issues may be addressed as part of the modification. The board's review is limited to only the changes in the project or aspects of the project affected by. If you have any questions regarding this correspondence, please feel free to contact me, Paul J. Haverty.
Mr. Chair, if I just may reply to a couple things in there, and I know that Mr. Haverty wasn't privy to the presentation we made previously, but as I had previously stated, the project is uneconomic, and it's not just an exercise in math at this point, where my client has actually attempted to get financing for this project and failed. I think that that goes over and above even doing the math exercise to show that it is actually uneconomic. Also, one last piece of homework the board had given is to find out if the Chelmsford Housing Authority would act as the monitoring agent for this project as a condition of the permit, and the Chelmsford Housing Authority has said that they would. So I just wanted to point those two things out from the letter, and I'm happy to answer any other questions the board may have.
Thank you. I think the letters were very helpful and explanatory. Why don't we go into the audience? If there's anyone who would like to comment on this application at this time, feel free to approach the podium. Seeing none, I guess we can take this up.
We need a motion
I
to
think
close.
Mr. Haverty is right. There's not a lot of
I'll do a
wiggle
motion to
room.
close.
I'll second that.
Yes, we can close it, yeah. We can't ask Melissa any more questions. Do we want to do that?
I don't have,
I
You
think
comfortable?
we're good.
Okay. Second, by,
Yeah, I second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. So I don't think we have a lot of wiggle room,
no.
nor do I see the need for it. I think that the
Make a
project is,
motion and just say that based on the letters and the clarification in those letters that were read into file, I'd make a motion to approve it with the modification for purchase units as opposed to the prior approval for rentals.
I'll second that.
anything? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you very much.
Good luck with it.
I wanted to say it.
Yeah. Go so far.
As I stated, Morose Avenue, Larry Gagnon is going to be continued till December 6th. I would need a motion to continue this.
Couldn't figure it out.
Do a motion to continue.
We weren't.
Rose Ave, Barry Gagnon, seeking a variance under 195.9, conformity in 195.10 to December 6, 2018.
You think it's
Second?
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
It's
Our
until
next
immediate-
hearing, we can give Katie a
Did you
minute
get
if
that,
need
Colleen?
be.
Was that?
Did you get that?
Our next hearing is
Motion.
5965 Princeton Street.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Court Apartments LLC, seeking a variance under 195.9 conformity for relief of floor area ratio to construct a new 18-unit apartment building
It was
and
just
any
up,
other
so
relief
just
that may be
your,
deemed necessary.
Screen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, Douglas Hausler from Lampert, Hausler and Rodman of Chelmsford, representing the applicant, which is Princeton Court Apartments
Should be coming up
LLC.
here.
Its principal, Kay Ning, is here in the audience this evening. Our project engineer is Katie Enright. This project was originally, I believe, brought before I think it was the planning board about a year ago, and was withdrawn because there was a lot of opposition. Because no one had really talked to the neighborhood. That was the fundamental reason that it had to be withdrawn. There were a number of issues. Katie and I were hired to assist this applicant and walk through the process that this town likes to use.
I don't know if
Katie's
I can
getting
do that one.
her programs up, and we'll get there. So the news that we can report is that over the last roughly 8 months, we've held no less than 4 or 5 neighborhood meetings with the North Chelmsford Community Final Scare Committee. We discussed, they invited abutters, we invited the abutters from the abutters list, had several meetings, and we listened to the concerns of the neighborhood, and then tried to incorporate those comments and concerns into the plan that you now see and that were attached to a letter that I submitted about a month and a half ago. So the concept of the plan is to add a third building to the site with 18 new apartments, 15 of which will be 2 bedrooms, 3 will be 1 bedrooms. They will all be rental. The good thing about this entire plan is that every other dimensional requirement in the zoning bylaw is met, except for floor area ratio. That's the only item that it's not met. So to address that particular issue, Katie and I worked together on doing an analysis of the zoning district requirement and then apply it to the neighborhood. And to demonstrate to you that perhaps it's the zoning bylaw that isn't really reflective of the reality that exists every day up in North Chelmsford in that area. And what we did is, on Exhibit B of the program, or the letter I gave to you, we took a look at every single property in that neighborhood, and most important was from the locus to the north, which is on the street north of it is Gay Street. And there are 5 single-family or multifamily homes on that Gay Street on the south side. All 4 that abut this project, all of them don't meet the floor area requirement or ratio. Going further, in a couple of blocks in each direction, Katie was careful enough to highlight in red all those items, all those lots that don't meet floor area ratio. And as you can see, it's the vast majority of that neighborhood does not satisfy the requirement. One of the other important things that we did in connection with dealing with the neighbors was we discussed with the people that are abutting what is the paper street that you'll see on the west side of the locus. And I think that's called Newfield Street. It's never been built out from the intersection of Gay Street back towards what we always call the mills, and the condominiums at the mills and the mill buildings themselves. That whole area, that length, is owned by Mr. Tassi on the right. To the left, going all the way along the boundary of that paper street, is Mr. Vines and Mrs. Vines, and then our client owns the other. Those are the 3 abutting property owners to that portion of the paper street. And all 3 property owners have agreed that they are going to take the steps necessary if we get approvals through the boards at the end of the day to request that that part of the paper street be abandoned. And that's important, very important to the Vines family and to the Tassi family, because they don't want that street to be built out, and nobody else has rights but our client and those 2 property owners. And so any condition that we're gonna go before the planning board as well as this board, but we will make it an express condition that if all the approvals are permitted to allow this project to go forward, we will undertake to file all the required paperwork to make sure that that portion of Gay Street, Newfield Street, is abandoned. That was an important thing. That took away some of the opposition. The other parts had to deal with what was going to go on the ground on this lot. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity or have ever had the opportunity to look at the two apartment buildings that are presently there. And if you have, I'd just like to get a nod of your head or not, just so you could, I don't want to waste your time.
I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so the property in its current condition is, I'll say, worn down, to be polite. This is going to make it economically viable to actually do a redo of this project. It's the only way that we're going to be able to redo the other two buildings is to get the financing for the new building and make improvements to the old. Those improvements, Katie's going to go in greater detail with you, point by point. But quick examples of things that are going to happen. You'll see that if you drove up there now, all those parking spaces that are so carefully delineated on this plan, well, there's pavement, but they're certainly not delineated. It's an absolute free-for-all. So this will increase the safety of the site substantially, those for existing tenants and visitors to the site, as well as the new tenants that would move into the new building. We've provided all the required parking to meet the requirements of the zoning bylaws. The other important pieces of this is the dumpster has been will be relocated, it will be fenced in. A playground will be constructed to the west side of the brand-new building, if permitted. This will give an area that's safe for the kids that live there. And this is designed, that playground is designed to work for younger kids because Varney Park is literally down the road. Older kids will tend to go down there. But this will make it a lot safer for the little kids who ride their little tot bicycles and such. Right now, again, that parking lot is not a exactly safe neighborhood for those kids. The other important piece is you'll see the green behind the two existing buildings. They're shown in the brown to the top part of that diagram. Right now, all that is blacktop bituminous. The neighbors want to see that all that landscaping come into play. There will be a substantial visual improvement, so the aesthetics of the site will be better. The plantings will give it some shielding to what currently there is just a bunch of trees that are not carefully maintained. So we're making a lot of improvements to the site. I think it might be best if I let Katie walk through all the particulars, and with one last exception. We did meet on at least 3 occasions with Mr. Gillette and the Gillette family, who are the owners of the commercial property, the mills. And we accommodated the request that they asked. Their request was originally we had the building shifted to where we had the playground on the opposite side of the building. So now it's on the left versus on the right. We had it on the right. They asked us to shift the building and move the playground area, and we did. That was their primary concern. And after meeting with them, they're not either for the project or against the project. They're kind of Switzerland. They're neutral. And I don't want to misstate their position. They're just simply not going to take a position before the boards. As far as I'm aware, as of last 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks, we met with them right after the last scheduled hearing. So they're not for or against. They're just not going to say anything. But we did accommodate the one request that they had. So with that, I'll ask Katie to go through more details of the changes and what the site plan will look like, and then we'll be happy to address any questions that you or any neighbors may have about it.
Good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. As Doug stated, we've been working on the site layout and engineering for the project on Princeton Drive. Originally, the project came to me as 2 separate new buildings on the southern side of the lot with a parking layout and some open space. Since then, we've completely redeveloped the project with a new architect and a new engineer, myself, a new landscape architect, and new engineering design. We've also, as Doug stated, instituted some feedback from some neighbors, and all of that, as best we can, has been incorporated into this plan. As Doug stated, what's out there today are 2 existing buildings that total about 19 units. The pavement that exists there today is in a bit of disarray. There is parking. It's basically right down, smack down the middle of the parking lot. So there's an aisle that goes around the exterior. Every time I've driven down there, that's what the children use as a playground. So there's a lot of small toys, there's a lot of small tricycles and bicycles. It's really not a safe place for the children to be playing. So one of the things that was important for us in redesigning the project was to find a playground area within the site that could be developed and fenced, and that we could supply some playground equipment for the smaller children so that their toys could be kept in a safe place and they could be in a safe location to play. Also to add some order to the parking lot as far as getting it striped and repaved. We've added a little bit of parking towards the end of the pavement that's there today, and that's to provide a full three-point turn for a fire truck. So your ladder truck for the Chelmsford Fire Department can get into the site and do a full three-point turn at the end of the site, which they wouldn't be able to do today. Also, we've provided adequate parking for all the units here. So with the existing 19 units and the proposed 18 units, we would be at 37 units here, which would require 75 parking spaces, including 4 ADA spaces. All of those are shown here, and they're shown to not be any more non-conforming than the existing lot is today. We've also tried to provide some significant open spaces and landscaping around the building. Currently out there, there's very limited landscaping. And in speaking with the abutters, it's really important to have a significant buffer along Newfield Street, which is not in existence, but it gives a buffer between the single-family homes and the multifamily residential. Right now, there's some overflow with residents playing in the grass associated with Mr. Vine's property. So we want to make a very definite edge along Newfield Street as part of this, and also provide the neighbors to the north off of Gay Road some significant landscaping in the back there too. And then obviously around the new buildings themselves and the old buildings. One of the things that we've heard a lot about in the process with the abutters is just how awful the existing buildings look. There has not been a lot of upgrades, if really any, besides the roof, to the two buildings that exist there today. And any significant improvements, we've shown you those for the existing buildings also, would be completely dependent on any project we do here. So we would ask that any board that were to look at this condition this new project on those improvements to those two existing buildings, because it's so important to this project moving forward. Included in your package are architectural elevations, not only of the new building, but of the two existing buildings. And that's because there's significant upgrades being made to the exteriors of the two existing buildings there today. On the two-story buildings that are there today, we're showing new siding, new paneling, new entranceways, new retaining walls out front or having them resurfaced at the front of the buildings. New decking materials, new baluster materials. So essentially the exterior of these buildings is going to get a pretty good overhaul for what's there today. And it's pretty awful when you're in the backyards of the single family homes on Gay Street, because those lots are small and the homes are big, that you're looking at the rear of these buildings and it's pretty bad right now, the way that those look. So these improvements are all part of this package. New landscaping around those buildings, new lighting around those buildings, and there's some stonework and some siding to tie us into the new building also. So that's certainly an important part of the process.
Do you, by any chance, have a copy of any of that we could see?
Yeah, and you should have it also in your files, but yes, I can give you this.
Get this copy if you want. I know it's,
That's the existing
No, I mean,
building.
we're describing all this and we don't have anything. No.
That's the existing building.
it's probably there. We've been referencing the,
That's existing and this is proposed. No, I have them up here too.
Here we go.
There's the existing.
That's existing, this is what we were talking about here.
So there's substantial improvements to the exterior of the existing building. So far, Mr. Ning has done improvements to the interiors as people leave or move out. He's been basically renovating the interiors of each of the units. But there hasn't been able, or money's available to do any of the exterior work as of yet. There's also significant improvements to the site and the environmental stormwater issues that are going on with the site. Currently, the pavement is not curbed at all, and the water just flows off down the hill into the mill property and off towards the unimproved Newfield Street. we're proposing to completely do this parking lot over. New pavement, new striping, new curbing, and a full stormwater management system to meet Massachusetts stormwater management standards. So we're talking about an infiltration area, deep sun-footed catch basins, where all of the stormwater on this property will now be controlled through a stormwater management system. As Doug stated, we also did meet with the Gillettes, and one of the changes that we made was very specific to the condominium residences that are on the property just to the south of us. The condominium building there is 3 stories. There's very large windows because of the mill appearance of the building. So there was a lot of concerns about the residents there looking out the window, even though we met the side setback for this property, looking out the window and having another residence essentially right there on the side of the hill. So by shifting basically the building and the playground, essentially those 2 buildings don't interact on the same plane. So the building, the new building is shifted down so that the windows adjacent to the site on the mill property to the south of us would look out and see our retaining wall and see the playground and be able to look past to the existing structures that are there today and not be looking out into somebody else's window right at the side there. So that orientation was changed to help in that manner. As Doug stated too, we're trying to control the amount of impervious surfaces. There's been a little bit of concern there are some utility poles to the back of these 2 existing buildings. And although we have not found any easements on record at this point, there may be the need to have a small paved path at the rear of those to access the utility poles that runs along the rear of this property. But again, we're looking to control all stormwater and any new additional pavement and do the best we can to eliminate excess pavement that's out there today. For this project. And as Doug also stated, we are looking for a variance for FAR. In looking at the properties that I've provided you on your map, essentially all of the existing abutters are over the required 0.25 when you're in the RC zoning district. When you're in the CD zoning district, which actually cuts the front of this site off, you can see the line coming through the subject site. You can see it up and down. It kind of cuts off the first 10% of the site. In the CD district, we'd be allowed to have a 0.45 FAR. We're at 0.48 with this proposed project. So essentially, if we were to shift that one property over closer to Princeton Street itself, we would be essentially compliant with the zone that's there today. But on the FAR map, I am documenting both properties that I'm utilizing the correct FAR depending on where you are within this map to tell you whether or not that the FAR is over. And on this plan here, you can see I go from not having the proposed building to there's the proposed building. It essentially sits on the other side of the paved parking lot that's there today. And you can see how it fits into the overall neighborhood by using that on this plan. I believe that's it. We've done a significant amount of work, so if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer.
To be fair to the principal, Kay Ning, who's here, yeah, as you can see, we said the property needs this, it's been worn down, et cetera. That did not occur during his term of ownership. He bought it, he knew the condition, what it was in about 2.5 years ago, and he bought it with this concept that he would have to come in, get something viable going again. And it's reduced from what he originally envisioned in terms of the number of units. And we have narrowed it down in terms of the number of units to what we can do feasibly, economically, to also fund the improvements to the outside that Katie has just kind of delineated. So with that in mind, we are very mindful of the fact that developers in the past, and this board's been very good about it as well as the planning board, so I want to give credit to where it's due, and to the planning director, that if promises are being made about improvements to other buildings or around the site in order to get a new building, sometimes those promises were not lived up to. In this case, we want those as express conditions that before the occupancy permit will issue for the new building, all the other improvements will have to have been either completed or substantially completed. And that'll be subject to the review by the building inspector and Evan, I would think. And that's how far the commitment is being made by our client, the applicant. We want to make this a very attractive project again. And this is the only way that we see that we can do it. And we came before your board first because absent this variance, this project just doesn't go forward. And the existing conditions stay. And that's not a good situation for that property, long-term. And it's not a good situation for the neighbors. So I think this becomes a win-win. With that in mind, I'm happy to listen to what any abutters say, whatever letters have come in and said, have something to say about it, or answer questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if the board has any questions at this time of Mr.
Just about the height, so the new building's gonna be stories.
But under-
So it's gonna be.
within the
Under
zoning.
the 35, right, but it's still gonna be taller than the other two?
Correct.
Yes?
Yeah, the other two are like 2.5 stories. There's units that are at the kind of the underground level.
Okay.
So we've made it a little bit higher, but but shorter.
Do you know the topography there,
Yeah,
Katie, of
that was
the,
Yep.
I know it's sloped.
It
Is
slopes down, yeah.
5 feet?
So it slopes, I don't have the topography with me today, but essentially it does slope from where the front of the building is proposed. It's flat for probably a little more than half the proposed building, and then it starts to slope off towards the back, so we would be required to do some small retaining walls in the back.
But, so I guess I'm asking you height for height.
Overall
The
height,
roofs.
Oh, yeah, overall,
2.5
overall, it
to
would meet the
3.
requirements of the bylaw, right? It would be average grade
No,
around the
just how it
building.
looks small, that's what you say.
I'm wondering how the two are gonna line
Look,
up. I
yeah.
think there's some height change in the grade.
Oh,
and
no,
you're
no,
at-
no, they'll line up, I don't know how tall the existing building's up, but they should line up.
Be similar, is that fair
No,
to
it's
say?
gonna be higher because we're gonna have 3 stories that are completely exposed at the site, where the existing buildings have, even though they're set up about 4 feet, have a room underneath. So this building will be taller than the buildings that exist there today, by probably about a half a story.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 7, it's probably 6 to 7 feet higher in height than the other 2 existing buildings.
Adjusting for the topography.
But adjusting for the topography too.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna let you guys think on it. I'll read the letters that I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. It's from engineering. No, it is not. I apologize. From the Board of Health. There are no comments. From the Water Department, I have an attached letter from the North Chelmsford Water District to the Board of Appeals regarding 59 to 65 Princeton Street. The North Chelmsford Water District has reviewed the applicant's proposal to seek a variance under 195-9, address 5965 Princeton Street, North Chelmsford, to construct a new 18-unit apartment building. The North Chelmsford Water District will supply water with the full understanding that the applicant shall follow the rules and regulations of the North Chelmsford Water District and the Chelmsford Fire Department's requirements, and agree to the following conditions. The apartment building will have at a minimum, a separated sleeve 2-inch water service and compound water meter, and have separate 6-inch fire protection service. Each water service shall be protected with a state of Massachusetts-approved backflow preventer device. 2, each unit will be charged at an entrance for each unit, for each unit, 18 in total, and an entrance fee for the square footage of each building for the fire sprinkler service. 3, 2 existing 2-story multi-dwelling families 9 and 9A Princeton Drive will be retapped and tied straight into the new 8-inch CLDI water main after testing and chlorination is satisfied. 4, the new 8-inch water main will be looped through as shown on previous plans and tied to the existing 4-inch cast iron water meter and connected with a new reducer and gate valve to eliminate the existing dead-ended water main. 5, all materials, inspections, overhead, entrance fees, tapping of domestic and fire service, etc., will be coordinated through the North Chelmsford Water District. Sincerely, Bruce J. Harper, Sr., Superintendent. I have a letter from engineering with a comment. The project will require the planning board approval. A technical review will be done by the office for the planning board. Well, at this point, I don't know how they are doing that. I have a letter from Chelmsford Fire Prevention, 5965 Princeton Street, Princeton Court LLC. Dear members of the board, water supply appears to be adequate. The required pressure and flow shall be confirmed by a current water flow test performed proximate to this site, with all calculations submitted to this department for review and approval. Hydrant locations are not currently shown. However, the engineer has expressed a willingness to place hydrants at the request of the Chelmsford Fire Department. The Chelmsford Fire Department requires a hydrant within 60 feet of the fire department connection and a hydrant within 500 feet for manual firefighting operations. Hydrants and fire protection equipment shall be free from landscaping obstructions. Access for firefighting apparatus and emergency vehicles shown on the plans is adequate. All fire lanes shall be marked with approved pavement markings and/or approved signage. Fire access roads and turnarounds shall be designed with swept path analysis using AASHTO BUS-45 turning template. I don't know what to tell you. I guess I have to read it. Fire apparatus shall be designed to be registered by a registered engineer to withstand the weight of the fire apparatus. Snow storage shall not obstruct or impede fire access roads or turnarounds. All exits shall have sidewalks to allow a continuous path from the exit to lead to a public way. The dumpster location on the plan is adequate. An automatic sprinkler system conforming to NFPA 13 and a fire alarm system conforming to NFPA 72 shall be required. Both systems shall be monitored by the UL-approved Central Station Monitoring Service. All components and fire protection systems must comply with the state building code and the Chelmsford Fire Department requirements. Testing for emergency responder radio coverage and, if necessary, installation of a BDA system shall also be required. 3 sets of sprinkler and fire alarm plans, along with supporting documentation, must be submitted to the Fire Prevention Office for review prior to the approval of the building plans. All equipment related to fire safety shall be located at the discretion of the Chelmsford Fire Department. The applicant must submit an application to the Town of Chelmsford E-911 Committee for address and unit numbering through its coordinator, Town Clerk Tricia Druez. This office would approve of this plan with these conditions and changes, and I ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Daniel J. Kostafas, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. I'm just going to ask, is the other 2 buildings sprinkled at this point? Is that part of the plan? Part of the requirement that the fire department has?
They're old building, they have alarm, but, I think adding the sprinkler, that's not a.
It's not a requirement. Do you know how that works, Sean, as far as,
Yeah, it would be depending on the financial outlay of the renovations to the building. That would determine whether the sprinkler system would be required.
so the work they may be doing could trigger that?
Could trigger it.
I see, okay. Just a curiosity. I have a letter from the Community Development with no comments, but a note. The ZBA is requested to grant the variance not to exceed FAR so that the applicant can apply to the planning board for special permits to conduct a full detailed site plan review related to parking, traffic, landscaping, and density of units.
Who was that from?
Community Development, Mr. Belansky, I believe, is the author.
And they request not to?
Not to exceed. So they would like, the ZBA is requested to grant, I think it should be a variance, not to exceed the FAR, which is the floor area ratio. He's asking for approval
Okay.
of what they're asking for, the excessive floor area ratio.
Okay.
Am I getting the gist of that, Mr.
Wording threw me off.
Belansky?
I thought they were saying
Yeah.
not
I
to.
did too.
I think there's a little grammatical error there.
I can't imagine that.
What do we have?
All in favor?
Your meeting.
I'm trying to understand who this is from. The planning board has sent us a letter. It's a little unusual. And, okay, so to the Zoning Board of Appeals from the Planning Board, October 4th, 2018, regarding 5965 Princeton Street. The ZBA recommendation. At the meeting of September 26, 2018, the Planning Board was presented with an overview of the proposed project and forwards the following comments to the Zoning Board's consideration. It is the Planning Board's understanding that the only zoning relief being requested from the Zoning Board is relative to floor area, FAR. The Planning Board's special permit/site plan process would involve a typical comprehensive and detailed review of traffic, parking, landscape, and drainage. In this case, the Planning Board would also consider the total number of units. Based upon the above, the Planning Board requests that the Zoning Board grant the requested variance so far, and I believe that's the floor area ratio,
Yeah.
as proposed, so that the applicant may proceed with the Planning Board process to allow an opportunity for the Planning Board to conduct a full review, including the potential of reducing the number of units, which would also reduce the FAR.
FAR. and then have to
The
come back.
FAR, yes. So I guess the request from them is to approve this and let them do a full review, which I'm comfortable
And
with.
then if they come back, if it adjusts and it's still over, they come back.
Right, if there's still, well, they won't come back
Why would they
unless
come
they
back?
do exceed.
Well, if they still exceed, if they just
Right.
reduce it, but don't reduce it into the requirements, then they still have to come back. So we'd be, unless if it's because it's
As
less.
proposed, it would
If
be
it's-
approved.
If it's just less than
By
.48,
us.
they could still come back. Okay. They wouldn't have to come back.
Right.
We wouldn't, I think, and if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. We're asking for a floor area ratio up to 48%.
Yeah.
As long as we maintain 48 or less, we
Yeah,
would not have to
that's
come
what I
back.
just said to them.
If they
Okay.
exceed the 48,
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
but the way it's designed now with the 18 units, it would
Yeah,
not.
Okay, I get it.
At this point, I'm going to open up the podium to anyone that has questions or concerns regarding this application. Name and
Evening.
address.
Bill Vines, 75 Newfield Street. I own the property to the west of the Paper Street, and this has been going on for about 8 months, the meetings, and we've had several meetings with Doug and Katie, and also site walk. And I had some issues with drainage coming from this lot onto my lot. I get a lot of the water along with the mill. And kids playing in my yard because there was no area for the kids to play. So throughout this process, they've been great working with. We've been able to work out issues with the kids, giving them a play area, moving the building down. Landscaping is going to be a big improvement on my side of the property, and also looks like where the neighbors are on Gay Street. So I would like to see you approve this. I'm in support of it. They've addressed all my concerns, and I think as a whole, the entire project will be much better than it is now. It's run down. I've lived in North Chelmsford for 60-some odd years, and those buildings haven't changed since I was a kid. So this will give them an opportunity to make a cohesive unit there, a nice complex. The drainage, like I said, is going to be brought up to code. I think all in all, it's going to be a nice project, so I would like to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or concerns this evening? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Before doing that, are there any other questions you have of Mr. Hausler or Katie Enright?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
All right.
So it seems our role is somewhat limited. I don't know if there's concerns. I see it being a positive step towards improving the property. But I can't make a motion, so.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the variance under 195-9 for relief for floor area ratio to construct a new 18-unit apartment building up to 47%.
48?
48.
48.
The letter says 47. Okay. I don't think 1% is gonna matter to me, so
Okay, we'll go with
48.
the 48.
Up to 48%.
Last percent, I don't
On the condition of the letters
On the
and
condition of the letters and the
planning
proposal
board.
is shown.
Yeah.
All in favor?
We need a
get a
second.
second?
know. I'll second the motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank Evan, especially, he went to a lot of the meetings to assist us in getting the ideas generated to make the neighbors satisfied. So I want to thank him. And thank you.
Do we have to make an announcement for the?
We have to say good luck. Do we have to, which one?
Do we have to make the announcement for only 4 members?
Yeah,
or-
I think you kind of
Yeah,
do.
that's
I thought
probably,
about
that's
that.
probably something else. Yeah.
No, I think
When you
you
weren't
kind of
raising-
do, yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll
like,
do that
uh-oh.
before the opening of the next.
For the record, they were aware.
Yeah. I think they can kind
But
of
it's-
see,
it
but
is-
I
it
think
is,
you need to read it
important.
in. Because they have an option to delay this until the time.
Yeah.
Our next hearing is Matthew Cassie, 251 Dunstable Road. He's seeking a special permit. This is still a continuation. Seeking a special permit under 195-8E2. Mr. Cassie, I think you should be aware that we have 4 members tonight, so you need a unanimous vote
That's
to.
fine. Okay,
I think I
first of
should
all, I'm
also
not
remind
Mr.
everyone that we
Cassie.
are on TV.
Okay, I'm not Mr. Cassie. My name is Robert Pace, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Cassie. I'm purchasing the property, hoping to demolish the house and build a new single-family house.
Okay.
This was for, Mr. Chair, this was the one that just needed a re-advertisement at the last hearing because we had the wrong square footage.
Oh, yes.
I've
Ah,
already
yeah.
done all the letters and everything. It just was
Okay.
re-advertised.
So to refresh, I'll read the blurb.
That
Is-
one's wrong. Sorry, I just noticed it, but there's a legal ad in there.
Oh,
It has
okay.
the new legal ad on it.
Oh, we jumped over that one, I see.
That's
Okay.
okay.
So I took this one out of there.
That's the correct one.
Okay, so read the correct legal notice. Matthew Cassie, 251 Dunstable Road, is seeking a special permit under 195-8E2 to demolish a structure and build a new 2-story, 3,208 square foot, single-family home on a new 102, also a new 102 square foot side garage on a pre-existing non-conforming lot area, frontage, width, which will now meet zoning setbacks and increase the square footage over the 30% allowable and any other relief deemed necessary. So dimensionally, we are correct.
We're over and above, so that garage thing was,
Okay.
So we didn't really even look at it. Can we get that up on the screen now?
yeah.
Look at that. That would be life. Refresh my memory, how far did we get through this one before we realized that?
We are right to
Took all
here.
the testimony,
We,
Yeah.
we did everything. right?
knowing that it was just gonna need to be re-advertised.
That's what I thought.
We'll open it up to the audience at some point. The letters have been read in.
So it's in Kingsford, huh?
Yes. The house is just,
Yeah, it's just inside.
You don't want to pay Tingsboro any taxes, huh?
No.
I'm going to open this up to the
No.
audience to see if there are any questions or concerns regarding this application. Seeing none? Guess I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
By Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, it's just a larger house. Dimensionally correct, which is great, really.
Yep,
I would
here we go.
like to make a motion to approve the special permit under 195-8E2 to demolish a structure and build a new, larger, single-family house at 251 Dunstable Road.
I like it. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is bias, there's some kind of bias going on here. Get to the bottom of
You got the continue.
it. Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to continue 101 Main Street, Brian and Lucy Sullivan, to December 6th, 2018. They would like a full board.
I'll make a motion to continue 101 Main Street to December 6th.
Steve seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
New public hearings, holy cow.
You have those too, huh?
We have just two, I believe, so that's not the three. James Cronin, 2 Pecos Circle, is seeking a special permit under 195-8E2 for a 35 by 25 addition over the garage on a pre-existing non-conforming lot area, which will increase the square footage over the 30% allowable and any other relief deemed necessary. Good evening.
How are you? We're just adding on behalf of the homeowner.
We can get your name and
Jim
address, sir?
Cronin,
My name is Bill Muse, 2 Pecos Circle, Chelmsford.
Your address, sir?
Townsend Street in Pepperell.
Thank you.
I'm the contractor.
Yep.
We're here just to, he's just trying to add on to his bedrooms, 2 bedrooms and a bath. Instead of going out, the easiest thing to do is go up. Actually enhance the house, look better. And he's got a growing family. He has 1 now and he has 1 on the way. So we're adding 2 bedrooms and a bath, playroom.
Stairway, I imagine?
Yeah. It's an odd shaped, weird house.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost like, it looks like a raised ranch, but it's actually a split level. But it's odd. So the only easiest way to do it was to go over the garage.
Family's growing, house is shrinking.
Yes.
Very good, very good. Let's see, we have the letters here. You guys ponder, I'm gonna read the letters. Center Water has no concerns regarding 2 Pecos Circle. The Board of Health has no comments regarding 2 Pecos Circle. Community Development has no comments regarding 2 Pecos Circle. The Fire Prevention has a letter regarding 2 Pecos Circle. Dear members of the board, the office has reviewed the proposal for the addition at 2 Pecos Circle and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction. The home shall have hardwired interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. 3 copies of the plans that clearly show all required life safety devices shall be submitted to this office as part of the building permit plan review process. This office would approve of this addition with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Engineering has no concerns. That's all my letters.
That was part of the process. I knew that would have to happen anyways. Any with new construction, hardwire the hull, safety, all that. That was part of the plan anyways.
Great. I think there's very few questions here. We'll open this up to the audience and see if there's any questions or concerns regarding this application. Seeing none. Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looking for a motion.
I have a ton of questions.
Thank you very much.
But we do need to vote.
Oh, sorry.
But you're welcome.
Now the bad news.
I knew it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit under 195-82 for the addition of the garage at 2 Pecos Circle
I'll second.
with all the letters.
All the letters. All in favor? Aye.
Good luck with it.
Great, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Quick and fast, we like that. I just gotta put it in the thing. I always put it away. Our next hearing is 2224 Bartlett Avenue. Ashley O'Neill Baxter is seeking a special permit under 195-8E2, 195-8E1D to construct a 16 by 32 addition, which will increase the pre-existing non-conforming structure, front setback, lot area, frontage, and width by more than 10%. Good evening.
Good evening. Similar to what some other folks have said tonight, growing families, house is
Just
shrinking.
your name and address for the.
I'm sorry, Ashley O'Neill Baxter, 24 Bartlett Ave. So we're looking to add an addition, a garage, and then a one floor over the garage. The house is currently garage, first floor, second floor. We're not going to do the second floor, just the garage and first floor. The same length as the house.
You see it?
I can't see.
It's a
Do we
really,
have
I have
a
a
certified plot
Yeah,
plan
I
in
have
that?
a
Just to see the area?
I have one as well with me if that's.
We have one on, is that it?
this is a picture of the corner of it. It was too big for me to scan in, and it's like pencil, so it was very hard to copy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I got it here too, it's very big.
Is yours darker?
Yes, it is.
You
I
bring
have
it up to the,
Perfect, thank you.
I have a couple of extra copies of, but not enough, or I don't.
Thank you.
Sure.
So this has a tight corner backing up to 495 of 7 feet.
Yeah.
But it is 495, I mean, I don't think that's, is that 400 feet? Does that sound right? I think that's the width of 495, is 400 feet across.
you got me.
So there's some space for overage there.
And if I may, it shows on the plot plan, there's a special, a triangle of land that was to be purchased by us, proposed, and we did purchase that. It's on record. So now we do own that triangle.
Well, just a little piece that's not in blue, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, because if you didn't, that would be a bit of a problem, yeah.
That would be weird.
Right.
The deck is 4 feet from the property line, but again, it's 495, it's not, Did you get a look at that, okay, Steve, you can see that, good? I can give you this one on this.
I'm very
Yeah,
confused.
anybody need one?
The little- I have the-
Okay, you got it.
So the conveyed property is actually part of their addition at this point.
So she wants to put it like right here.
So
Yeah,
this
they're
house
on it.
here, that's over the property line?
Are you talking about the triangle part?
They're on it, that's what
That
they
is
just
our-
purchased.
we
That
just
was
purchased
conveyed.
that.
They purchased
They own
that,
it.
they got it.
Yes, from the town. The
Not the
town owned
triangle at the
it.
top, the
Exactly.
blue, there's 2 houses attached, at, I guess 22. And
Wait.
20
Right here.
Yeah,
If that's the line, it goes over here.
Oh, I see what you're saying, the other end, yeah.
Not that it's our concern.
It's not in front of us.
okay, so.
It's hard not to look at, though.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Right here. See how it comes across?
Yeah, but these
Yeah.
can be up to 15 feet off.
No, like I said, it's hard not to look at, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Side setback is gonna be 4 feet, or is that the rear setback?
That's 7, that one?
There's a 7 and there's a 4 to the deck.
That's 4 off the deck,
Yeah, okay.
the stairs of the,
And that's the limiting, the 4 is the limiting number, not the 7.
yep. People on 495 are gonna be upset.
Especially during that
Cars going
AM,
by, they'll be pointing at it.
AM traffic.
Do you have a noise barrier in that section? Is there one there? No.
Surprised you don't have anyone from 495 in the audience to speak to the,
I will read the letters while we're trying to understand this. Hello, Colleen. This is from John Souza Jr., the Finance Director and Treasurer of the town of Chelmsford. I'm writing to let you know that Ashley and Luke Baxter purchased a tax possession land parcel on Bartlett Ave at public auction last Friday, October 19th, 2018. The small triangular parcel, ID 54262-1, is believed to contain about 627 square feet. They closed on the land last Friday, and I recorded the attached treasurer's deed at the Middlesex North Registry earlier today. I have not had a chance to notify the assessor's office yet, but will soon do so. They may be submitting a home improvement project soon, to either the planning board or the Board of Appeals. John. I have a letter from the Board of Health with no comments. I have Captain Dan's letter. Members of the board, the office has reviewed the proposal for an addition at 2224 Bartlett Avenue and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51 standard for new construction. The home shall have hardware, interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. 3 copies of the plans that clearly show all required life safety devices shall be submitted to this office as part of the building permit plan review process. This office would approve of this addition with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Daniel Kostafis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. Actually, I did want to make you aware that there are 4 members tonight. Should we vote tonight, you would need a unanimous decision to approve this. I should have told you that earlier, I apologize, but I keep forgetting. I have a letter from the Center Water District with no comments. I have a letter from Community Development with no comments. And I have a letter from Engineering. The plans show an approximate measurement from the proposed building to the property line. The applicant must revise the plan to show an exact measurement. Is certified? So at that point, this has been done. We have a certified plan.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And I'm just reading the letter.
it's no different than this, right?
It's stamped, that's
Dimensionally?
it, Leo White.
It's
Yeah.
stamped. She may not have got a copy with the stamp showing.
Right, Christina may not have, yeah. So that is everything I have. Over the audience? Any other questions? Anyone like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this application? Now is the time. Seeing none, I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to do that. Close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Nancy, all in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve a special permit for 2224 Bartlett Ave to construct a 16 by 32 addition which will increase a pre-existing non-conforming structure with all the letters and all the testimony.
Good point, good point.
Second?
Second by Steve, all in favor? Aye.
Good luck with it.
I did not see that coming.
I was trying to figure out why they purchased this little tiny triangle over here. I realized that.
Oh, you certainly can, yeah, I was just gonna
Thank
hold
Thank you
it
very much.
up, but I won't.
We're gonna steal it.
You can have any of these, yeah, you can have the little ones too.
I was trying to make it short. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tell her goodbye.
Good luck.
You know, you're gonna get replaced. We have 2 new members coming in, and that's it.
Really?
Hopefully. Jerry is struggling with his daughter's health.
You're on microphone and all that good stuff, so.
So, never mind.
by Chelmsford Television.
Disregard the previous 10 seconds as we go.
Can we back it up just for a moment? Our next application is 293 Chelmsford Street, Gulf Service Incorporated. Attorney William Harvey is seeking a variance under 195-9 conformity to construct a 24 by 52 canopy over 2 existing island gas pumps. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Reedy and the members of the board. On behalf of the applicant, Gulf Service, Inc., and the president, Tony Mitri, who is here, we're seeking a variance. Application has been filed with this board under section 195-9 conformity to construct a 24 by 51 foot gas pump canopy that will encroach on the front and side setback. The site is located in a CC Commercial Shopping Center District zoning district and consists of 9,691 square feet of land as shown on the assessors map 53, block 201, page 1. The applicant proposes to construct a new gas pump canopy that will encroach on the front and side setback as shown on the proposed certified plot plan that was certified by Taj Engineering, LLC. And furthermore, you also have a engineering plans by American Canopy and Facial Systems, which detail the type of canopy that will be installed. The proposal that's before you is consistent with the board's recent decision to grant a variance. Most recently was Ampet Inc., 100 Chelmsford Street, whereby this board granted a variance for front setback to permit a gas canopy to be constructed in a more restrictive zoning district, which was an RB zoning district. That decision was June 1st, 2017. The proposal submitted by the applicant will have a positive impact on the neighborhood, and the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw will be met. And for the aforementioned reason, will not substantially derogate from the intent and purpose of this bylaw. In addition, the structure will not be detrimental to the neighborhood and will be consistent with the intent of the zoning in the CC district. The shape and size of the lot in proximity to Chelmsford Street is a hardship. And lastly, the canopy will assist with public safety and also employee safety. For the aforementioned reasons, the applicant, Gulf Service, Inc., respectfully requests that this board grant zoning relief requested. So I do have a photograph of the project at 100 Chelmsford Street that was recently approved. This pretty much is an identical canopy that will be constructed at my client's site. May I approach?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pretty much the standard fare.
Now, these architectural plans relative to canopies obviously have to be approved by a certified engineer, and they also have to be in compliance with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration due to the fact that there are gasoline vehicles that will be going in and out of these structures. So the height has to be a certain height, and also the size of the roof. Furthermore, this is a this is a full-service gas station. So this has been reviewed by the deputy, and he has notified my client that if there's any point in time this ever becomes a self-service, that he'll have to install certain fire equipment, fire safety equipment. but my client has no intention of having a self-service. He's been there for 30 years. He's owned the property for 5 years. He's lived in the town of Chelmsford for 17 years with his wife and 2 children that attend the Chelmsford school system. So my client has a significant investment in Chelmsford with this building, which is assessed, I believe, pretty much to $700,000-800,000, as well as a significant investment at the house that he has in Chelmsford. So if you never noticed in Chelmsford, every gas station other than my client has a canopy. He's the only gas station that doesn't have one. And it's obviously a great convenience to have a canopy for people that come out of the car and they want to talk to him about repairs to motor vehicles and as well as the safety of his employees due to the fact of our inclement weather. So for those reasons, I'd ask that the board consider approving this application.
Are you, is this as small as it can be? My concern is the 1.8 foot setback from the front of Chelmsford Street. Just so tight. And I know the tanks are where they are, the pumps are where they are, they've been there forever. I get gas there. It's nice to think that it's covered. I'm not against it in that sense. It's so very close to there is a sidewalk in front of that, I believe. And you would not encroach on that sidewalk with the overhang at all. That's what it looks like from this. And as, I guess I can read the letters, but did you put a letter together for this, Sean? Is this, I used to get them from Mark on occasion. I mean, it just seems so close that it makes me nervous. I see the positives of doing it, and the 24 foot, is that mandated by the Traffic Safety Council or the bylaws? Does it have to be 24 feet wide?
No, it doesn't. The height is
Yeah.
definitely what's mandatory.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, the height is the same as every other one, I assume, so that's pretty much the standard.
From my own personal experience getting gas there, is I know that the property of the gas station pretty much goes right up to Chelmsford Street where there's a curb and I guess there's a sidewalk. So I think that's exactly where the canopy would be. It wouldn't encroach any further. But it would more or less be a protection area where the cars come in. This is a little bit bigger of a gas station than 100 Chelmsford Street. I believe that he has more pumps. And
I think they have the same, you have 2 pumps, right? Yep.
okay.
I mean, it appears that there's more distance between Chelmsford Street and the, I'm not even sure the name of this gas station, but it appears there's more distance between the pump and the roadway than you have, which I understand it's kind of, what's there, and I can respect that. It's been there forever.
Same distance for the sidewalk from the road, same distance.
Is it?
Amped, I think, was a 2-foot front yard variance.
It was 2?
This was 1.8.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it was,
It was that close, huh?
Yeah.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, the 24-foot width is because of the dual lanes.
Right, 12 and 12, and
the top.
it's really not even all that wide when you look at the width of the pump and the
Well,
pump.
it's only 12 off center on the pumps, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just, if we've already done it, and I understand the need for it.
It's the same situation. I think the property line and the 1.8 foot offset, then the curb to the roadway is a little bit further, 3-4 feet away. It's not right on the property line.
Like this.
Similar to Ampet. It's like a no man's land area.
Right, and I know it is too. I'm very familiar with it. Like I said, I get my gas there.
This
Best
is the-
price in town.
This is the thing next to Stop and Shop?
That's correct, right on the corner there, yeah.
I'm just confused because it was Gulf Inc. and I didn't think this was a Gulf, that was a Gulf service station. Used to? Okay.
I ran it for 30 years when it was Gulf. Just bought it for about 5 years ago I bought it. So now it's.
Gas
You have a
Express.
different supplier.
So I had a question about the hardship for lot shape or size. The lot doesn't look terribly oddly shaped or sized. So is there a,
Well, as Paul pointed out,
1.9
safety is also a consideration, the fourth allowance for a variance. So does this improve safety? You could argue it does.
2 front yards,
Um,
2 front yards.
There's 2 front setbacks.
Yeah.
Right, right, so it does have two, it's a corner lot technically. And we'd also be granting relief on that corner lot, that's 15.8.
the 2 front
I
yards?
mean, the location of the pumps dictate the location of the canopy.
Yep.
And that is pretty
And that's
much
a
set in
standard
stone,
size, so-
that's not gonna change. And being familiar with it, I don't think you could say, go to the expense of moving the pumps towards the building, because there's just no room there. I mean, I'm very familiar with it.
Then you'd have to move the building.
Right, so there is a hardship that cannot be overcome by the topography, even though it's man-made, it's still topography, if you would, the location of the pumps dictates the location of the, I mean, I don't see a problem putting it over it, I think it's safer to have it there, the cars aren't coming in on ice and snow, next to the pumps, they're coming into a dry area, it's usually, got some kind of rumble strip that keeps it a little more protected from, things sliding around in there. So I guess you could argue that the variance is safety-related. And considering that it is manned by people, there are people standing by the pump, so coming in the ice and snow is certainly more risky without an overhang than with. I'm really not trying to sway you, I'm just looking at the options available.
Lightning safety.
Lightning safety.
I will also state that the building code as of today will not allow a gas station built without a canopy.
The thinking is a canopy is a requirement. This falls under the grandfather now. It's the last one in town that doesn't have a canopy. I was thinking about it, I believe you're right, I can't think of one that doesn't. Used to be down the corner there on 27, he didn't have one.
Oh, yeah. What about that one?
I forget what, Landry's, when it was Landry's, he didn't have one, but he does now. So I can read the letters, that's
Yeah, why
a
don't we do
good
that?
job. The Board of Health has no comments. Center Water has no comments. Captain Dan. The Department has reviewed the proposal to install a canopy over the gas pump and finds the following. While the Fire Prevention Office is not opposed to this project, the applicant advised that the change in the current full-service model currently in use to a self-service model will require a properly engineered fire suppression system to be installed per the Massachusetts State Fire Code. Service station fire suppressor systems must be approved by the Office of the State Fire Marshal and the Chelmsford Fire Prevention Office. The office would approve of this project with these conditions, and I ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Dan Christophas, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. Community Development, as a note, the under canopy lighting should be flush with ceiling. And engineering has no comments. I apologize for not saying this earlier, we are a board of 4 this evening, and we need a unanimous approval to grant.
We'll go forward. Thank you.
Yep, I apologize for not stepping right up with that.
Can we ask any questions at this point?
You can ask all the questions you'd like at this point.
Are you going to have a fire suppression system built into that canopy, or is that not in the plan?
No.
Okay.
It's not in the plan. It's only required if it's self-serve.
Yep, okay.
That'll be the last full serve in town. Actually, the other guy, this guy still does full serve, right? He still does full serve, yeah. Further questions from the board?
That was my one
It was
golden
a good one,
question.
though. You nailed it.
I stole it from Captain Dan.
Can I get a motion to close the
Yeah,
public
have
hearing?
a motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
I guess, we have a second?
All in favor?
Who seconded Nancy?
Just trying to move it along.
Yeah, fair enough, It's 8:30, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only detail, should we move to approval, is what is our variance based on? Life safety, I think, is a strong contender here.
I'd say safety and lot area.
Yeah,
Both.
I think
Lot-
both.
I think both.
Topography.
Yeah.
Sounds like a motion.
It does. I move that we approve the application for the variance for 293 Chelmsford Street to put a canopy over 2 existing island gas pumps with the letters written into file, or read into file, and the testimony we heard tonight.
I will second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Unless you want it.
And Sean, again, we're gonna go over the minutes, so there's, you know, you wanna take off, yeah, welcome to.
Don't forget to stamp that in.
Bastard.
Oh, we kinda did. For the minutes.
So did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep.
Sure did.
I had a chance, but I didn't.
I got corrections
We-
from Nancy and Mark.
Yes, we
And
have.
they're all incorporated, so you guys are very free.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
And I'll second it.
Excellent. Everyone gets a Snicker.
Yeah, there you go. And a Kit Kat.
Very good, good.
For Reese's?
No, no reason.
Right,
Reese's
did you
are
see
limited.
that? I still can't get over this. Did you see the thing they put in Times Square? You take your Halloween candy to Times Square, you put it in the machine, and they give
Oh,
you
yes.
back Reese cups. I think that's beautiful. It's a great, great campaign.
Thank you.
And they had a lot, this is Mark's candies. Please, thank you.
Yeah, you're our first trick-or-treaters.
Really?
Evan, take care.
Take it easy.
You want a Kit Kat before you go?
One for the road? Snickers?
Yeah, it was Reese's you would, right. Go to New York.
No, we didn't see
Yeah, I'm
many.
the other one.
Oh, motion to close.
Oh, yeah, we gotta do that, too. I'm going right down the
Oh,
Snickers
good,
highway.
that was a good hearing.
A variance
Is
on
it
the
Nancy?
Snickers bar,
we
shouldn't have nuts.
Nobody seconded your motion to adjourn.
Did
Steve
you not second a
seconded.
motion adjourn? It goes to discussion. Then you vote. There's no second needed.
Oh, okay.
Robert's Rules of Order.
All right, so we adjourned? We are.
All in
Chair
favor?
has to state
All in favor? Aye, adjourn.
we're adjourned.